My colleague will be giving the presentation. We are very excited to be here. And just in brief, ETERBASE is an exchange that allows you to exchange cryptocurrencies for tokens and make the transactions. So Robert will be giving the presentation.
Okay, so maybe first of all, we are quite excited to be here. It's pretty much our first presentation, here, presenting it publicly. We've been working for over 6 months, finishing our white papers, talking to our partners, building out the teams. Currently in a very initial phase of development. We just, it was roughly a month ago, we hired our CTO, who is sitting right here. He's a very experienced guy, mainly dealing with high throughput and highly reliable sort of solutions for either governments and banks. My personal background is in economics, financial law, and pretty much regulation and compliance. I work with governments, investment banks, huge, large-scale PPP projects. So I have a wide background. I studied econometrics at University College London and pretty much securities law at London School of Economics. So the very idea, maybe just to give you a brief example of the latest news that appear on the web, is that exchanges are getting literally blown off by regulators. Let's say one example, Attorney General in New York just asked most of the largest exchanges in the world, subpoena, what are the best practices? Kraken just rejected because, they don't want to deal with New York. And this is exchange based in the US. On the other hand, you have Japan, you have Binance, they are pretty much forced to close their offices, maybe moving to Malta. And again, they'll have several problems with, let's say, their linkages to Tether. We know the story, it can have tremendous and severe impact on entire ecosystem because, once you sort of jeopardize, the reputation of whatever the crypto community is, it's very hard, to get it back from the general public, and also you will have so many regulators, chasing down and asking very, very not really nice questions. So this is our first motivation, that we want to provide a first fully compliant, regulated financial institution that will be able to deliver, again, partially decentralized solutions, and also will not be providing the classical banking or partially banking solutions, but also will allow you to hold your crypto in a secure way, but on the other hand will be flexible and will conduct this bridge to classical fiat-based, or in Europe, SEPA-based payment systems. So additionally, what we see in the past few years, obviously we have so many new projects coming online, especially from a token side of the market, where you have huge volumes, and traditional exchanges that were first generations are somehow even not capable to process most of the transactions or open the accounts. As you know, probably Bittrex, it was a couple of days ago, they developed new front end, they updated the systems, but they again closed opening of new accounts because again it was a huge load. So that's something that we'll also address. Maybe another slide. So maybe just to give you a very brief focus of our exchange. As I mentioned, is the full KYC compliance, counter-terrorist financing, anti-money laundering, and of course, the big word GDPR. We actually, in our modular architecture, will have a specific module that will just deal with the GDPR only, just to make sure that we all the time compliant with the primarily European legislation, but also we will be taking care of our customers that we might have, let's say, in the United States, where the SEC is pretty much labeling all the tokens as securities, and we don't want to expose, or we don't want to be exposed to maybe some legal charges based on that. So internally we will also make sure that according to your jurisdictions, you will be only able to trade certain assets. So let's say we can switch off certain tokens for certain clients in certain parts of the world. Again, there is a poor experience from the customer service that lots of, let's say, traders or almost professional traders are experiencing. Sometimes it takes almost weeks to get answer to your ticket. This is something that we want to sort of build the institution around, that is more customer-centric, and that we eventually answer all the sort of urgent needs. Also, we will have a, you will see in a few slides, slides that we develop a completely new user interface, and also in terms of handling all transactions, we are developing auto-scalable modular architecture that in very strict conditions can handle literally dozens of millions of transactions per second. I mean, that really will depend how many customers we will have, but let's say if there is such a demand, the architectures should handle it. And for security and compliance, we are hiring pretty much best talent with either military experience or experience working with top-notch banks in Central Europe. On this part, you can see part of our user interface. We are still elaborating on this. You'll probably see a dynamic version of this in a couple of weeks. After that, we are planning to launch actually open beta. And as mentioned before, the main factor will be that we will offer this full transparency and accountability. Also, we are talking to the regulator. We are currently based in Liechtenstein. We had several meetings, and we will be expecting sort of an official letter from their side in a couple of weeks. After that, we want to pretty much very officially announce the project and move on with entire development. In terms of our user experience, one of the things that was omitted in the first wave of exchanges was how you track actually your portfolio. You don't see, the changes. It's very difficult, to grasp what is your actual P&L. Let's say with Bittrex, there was constantly under development. So in our core of our front end, we actually want to build in, all these features. Also, in a later stage, we want to provide sort of a social trading aspect to the matter, also, subject to the GDPR. So it's like a separate module. Let me just. In terms of your portfolio value, we'll also offer you to open several accounts. So let's say if you do algo trading, then you can just open one account or sub-account. If you want to just have a passive sort of hodl approach, you can open a different account. If you have your friend you want to buy crypto for, you open a different account. Again, this all will be subject to KYC, so pretty much everything should be as legal and compliant as possible. Just more. Again, we will have a partial implementation of a blockchain. It will be in a very simple manner. It will be ERC20. The token will allow you to access our very exclusive membership features. It's mainly tailored for institutional investors or institutional clients, where we want to lure as much liquidity as possible, because obvious problems with current markets is, let's say, for certain assets you have very low liquidity, or the liquidity evaporates eventually, if you need it. And we want to stimulate the market, we want to stimulate the market makers, and because of that, we'll actually offer negative trading fees under certain conditions. So literally we want to make people to join our community and build up their maybe market making businesses with us. Also, we will also unlock additional features, such as you can have way more trade requests per minute. Because if you are market maker, you want to, or high frequency trader, you want to have as many entries into the, let's say, order book as possible. So we will allow you to, if you hold certain amount of our tokens on an exchange. So maybe just to finalize where we are here, we are in sort of Q2, Q1. We already raised over €1 million. We have initially 2 offices, one in Liechtenstein, one in Bratislava, where our development team is based. We are onboarding lots of people from various countries, mainly from Europe, Switzerland, Estonia, Finland. So it's becoming a quite international group of people. So after the talks with the regulator, the first phase will be only crypto-to-crypto exchange, and later on we will apply for e-money institution or electronic money institution, which will eventually allow us, if everything goes according to the plan, issue our own IBAN accounts to our clients. So, traditionally, if you have a Coinbase, you're still sending it to a sort of low-tier bank in Estonia. With us, as an electronic money institution, you should be able in the future deposit your, let's say, SEPA payment directly on your own IBAN account. And through the platform, through the exchange it to various assets that we will provide subject to the local jurisdiction. So pretty much this summarizes our roadmap. It's the first presentation, and I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions that you might have. Also, you are more than welcome to visit our website, which is ETERBASE.com. You can download, you can see our white paper, and also you can follow us through as we will be developing the platform. So thank you so much.
Questions?
Would you like to try a touching?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are quite open-minded, so it's still work in progress.
I was just wondering, where do you think your benefits will come from mainly? At least in the beginning and maybe in long term.
I think long term, we really don't want to be the biggest exchange in Europe or in the world. Literally, we want to focus on the compliance at first. So, we actually work with the regulators. We talk, we are hiring some of the best legal talent globally, just to consult us on the issues that are going on in the US, although we are European. Because also we perceive that, if you succeed in one market, you can expand easily. But, it's very hard to do it in one go, in one push. You see that so many startups, they grow so rapidly that they make mistakes in the KYC procedures, or they don't talk to the regulator, or they reject it, and it can actually hunt them down after a few years. And then, me as a customer, I was moving lots of funds because I read this news that someone is closing accounts, or there is a subpoena, I don't want to name all the exchanges, but literally, I'm a trader. I'm actually focusing on algorithmic trading. I actually launched this project because I wanted to do market making and I couldn't, or I would have to have actual substantial capital to actually decrease my fees, let's say with Polynex. So I want to actually bring a solution that with maybe a couple of €1,000 you can actually become a small or medium-sized market maker. So you can actually build up your business and build up your trading ideas as well.
So go to business first.
Yeah, and this is the very reason why we are building centralized exchange, because there are certain limits on decentralized exchanges, such as low latency and transaction throughput. I mean, let's say if we have, I know few decentralized exchanges, they're using the BitShares platform, and let's say the limit is like 100,000 transactions per second through delegated proof of stake. And maybe one additional thing we will also implement that, let's say if you have proof of stake coins or masternode coins, you actually get the benefits. So it's not like we are building it and keep it for ourselves that some of the exchanges are doing, which is the part of the transparency. But,
why ETERBASE? If you say you work with all type of tokens, why is called ETERBASE? Yeah,
well,
it's a good question.
It's definitely a good question. I'm actually glad you asked. Well, it's a memorable name, and purely from the SEO perspective, it's if you just type it in Google, that's the first result. So purely out of the convenience factor for the users.
So I give you another side of the story. Yes. So my interpretation of the name is that it's like eternal base. It's like it's for good. It's the. Okay. It's actually the final and very good solution to the problem.
There are several angles from which you could look at it.
Okay. Is it specifically for corporate investors or individuals as well?
Yes, I mean it's literally for both. For let's say on the corporate side, we actually want to implement fast, besides fixed API, fast API eventually. We want to actually bring the literal market makers. I mean, you have a few market making firms that are doing the top pairs, and we actually want to onboard them and provide them, let's say, negative trading fees. So there is a huge incentive for them to create the market. So, but it will be extremely beneficial for retail investors or retail traders because you actually have the liquidity.
Because the reason I asked was, I wanted to ask, like, for individuals, for retail investors, how do you have crypto to fiat conversions and withdrawals as well?
Yes, as I mentioned, this will be implemented in the second phase after we obtain the licensing. It will probably happen next year. So this year we'll be really trying out the platform, trying out the crypto conversion, and then we'll move to fiat. I mean, doing it all together, I mean, even from strict regulatory perspective, is very difficult. So we want to just move step by step and actually try it out properly so that all the systems are working. And that is the reason why we have the modular system that, let's say, if you want to update something, we just change the module, let's say, for SEPA payments, perhaps.
And one final thing, because I asked all of these questions because the experience using traditional exchanges like Bitstamp and Kraken and whatever is, you have lots of headache when you try to withdraw fiat.
Yes.
And that's because, I mean, they have the standard KYC checks, but then when you try to withdraw 4-5 figure sums, you have these questions that really, it's kind of invasive. They ask really personal questions, and I was just going to ask how you plan to deal with that.
Yes, there will be tiered KYC sort of status. If you obtain the highest KYC status, which is almost like corporate level, then you can go like, not literally like millions, but you can go substantial amounts. But really, that would scan like literally what is your business, what is your source of funds. But once you sort of pass it and we are comfortable, and there is nothing like dodgy really going on, then you'll be available to withdraw way more money than you can do at whatever standard exchanges right now. But again, it's down to local jurisdiction. The Liechtenstein, they're very friendly. But again, it's the whole European Union, G20. At very extreme, they might go like, oh, we will ban I don't know what. And SEC, they actually they were saying that even Ripple is like a security, which is kind of going too far. So we'll see how it goes in terms of regulation. So we can make certain promises, so we can provide certain solutions, but again, it's down to the regulator what they will do.
Any other question maybe? Or we're good? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.